Welcome to this www.vibegarden.org broadcast mini reading. We'll be having a look into energies in this timeless, aka synchronized reading. Synchronized meaning that what's coming up in this reading in terms of themes, in terms of patterns that can return in future cycles, you can apply to your situations in the present moment to help you to navigate. The guidance will apply in a way that in some way connects with your story because you found yourself here. All right, so we're gonna get right into it. I did pull a chart. Obviously, if you're listening weeks from now or years from now, you're gonna want to kind of look at the time segment. So rather than exact dates, if something comes up, is the energy has like an intensity level for a week, but it can last for like 3 weeks because I tend to be able to give that kind of information, then you would apply that to your situation and it would be the very same. It just may not be the exact same dates. And it might not be the exact same planetary degrees. Energies can take on other, configurations and that sort of thing, especially with progressions of a story or what have you, especially retrogrades will tend to deal with the past in some way. Some things can be coming up at that time. All right, getting started, y'all, because I don't want to make this too long. We have the part of fortune, which I always like to kind of check on these days, in 7 degrees of Aquarius at the time of this recording. What this very much speaks to in the time that we're listening to it, and also if you're listening to this later in the way that this would be a synchronized energy reading. The fortune right now is in shifting your way into situations that bring you a sense of balance within the purpose of your birth. Basically, the reason and the meaning behind the things that you do is very, very important at this time. This could cause you to change things up. It can cause you to change things that you do. It could have you taking a good long look at the past. You could be experiencing upgrades, coming up to higher levels of cognition and awareness and understanding of why certain things have happened in the past and what this all kind of means in more of a generalized conceptual sense. Inventorily, things can go well. Quirky things can go well in terms of a physical, monetary, material type of fortune. If you have things that you're looking to work on, you could actually, from now into the next 7 weeks, have a pretty good time magnetizing what you require to get certain things accomplished that are in heart alignment, or in alignment or are in alignment in some way with your destined roads, or your connections and common plight with soul family members, including soul partners, or I should say divine partners, divine counterparts, that sort of thing, sacred soulmates, and even higher level soulmates. With all of that said, I'm going to have a look at the Venus energy, which has now gone direct. We can return for those who have been experiencing the retrograde in recent times leading up to this recording. It was an interesting journey through past patterns. Hopefully a lot of y'all utilize this energy to get into more of an alignment with self-love. Hopefully you utilize this to abandon patterns of the past that were self-effacing, self-sabotaging, or in some way had you kind of playing into the hands of manipulators, with a sense, an errant sense that you don't quite know how to disconnect, or you don't quite know what the right road is. A lot of what's been coming through in this ascension process have been opportunities to release ourselves from the trappings, the psychological trappings of the unconscious mind, as we navigate, as we forge pathways, navigate our way on pathways that hold a much higher resonant light. And this does come with what some will call shadow work. This comes with releasing patterns, facing our wounding, finding better ways to approach areas where we might perceive that we have weakness or vulnerability, and coming into much more of a trust and an alignment that on a soul level, it really, speaking plainly, cannot be fooled or tricked, right? When you're connecting with the divine. So this ultimately is leading you beyond the perceived need for fear or the reliance on fear, and coming into a resolve that you happened for a reason because you did, and that there's a purpose for you because there is, and that you've been entrusted with the divine spark perfectly capable of navigating your destined roads with said divine spark. So this week is going to be giving you all sorts of glimpses into what is possible for you moving up until, I would say, about the next 12, even for some of you, up to 24 years, maybe even a little longer than that. There's a seriousness in this energy. With Venus being in 24 degrees of Pisces, there is very much a Piscean energy with Venus right now. There are cosmic waves that are clearing out what doesn't belong in our waters, our ancestral waters, even our day-to-day sort of situations, where there might have been connections that don't really need to be there. There's a lot of cleaning on like the lower etheric, where not too many people have bothered to look. These are usually the areas we don't want to revisit, at least leading up to, this point in the ascension, areas we don't want to revisit, things we don't want to think about. And yet and still it's giving like these areas have to be cleaned. The North Node is still in a conjunction with Venus and with Saturn. The North Node's in 26 degrees. Saturn is in 26 degrees. And there is conjunction energy as well with Mercury, which has been direct for a little while now. Thankfully came out of retrograde, and it's in 28 degrees of Pisces. So these Piscean energies are affecting the very personal areas of the mind, professional areas, our sense of purpose, our ancestral bone work and framework, and our plight, facing north, where the light is, where we're meant to be going, where our destined pathways lead. So there can be a lot of spiritual guidance at this time, synchronicities. There can be very telling symbolisms showing up in the dream time, even snippets of writings showing up in the dream time for some people, dream prophecy, symbols, recurrent symbols that are trying to tell you something about a past that you came to put in order in some kind of way. That is what's coming through. The vertex, which is, largely considered more of a fate point, is in 0 degrees of Aries. And Neptune, which rules, at least in the contemporary sense, because in classic astrology, Jupiter rules Pisces, but Neptune rules Pisces contemporarily. And it is in 0 degrees of Aries. It's been in there for a little hot minute now. So we're coming into more chi, more primal engagement with the areas of the mind that are responsible for how we project upon our future. And, there could be releases taking place with this. There could be weird dreams. There could be supernatural situations for some folks. I definitely recommend drinking a lot of water. You could sleep with water under your bed. I give thanks to the ancestors for revealing how that could be helpful. That's come through channels before. You can put a little bit of salt in that water. You can even put a little bit of cinnamon in that water if you're feeling a need for extra protection, and also if you're looking to wake up with more optimism, because cinnamon was used to clear out and purify temples. It's very good for these sorts of things, and it also has nice alignments with material wellness, right? Resource friendly resource situations. I'll just leave it at that. Chiron is in 23 degrees of Aries, and it is in conjunction with the sun in 24 degrees of Aries. I feel like these energies right now, there's not like, even though there's a conjunction with these energies, there isn't anything that I feel to report would be huge for the personal story happening this week until maybe about Thursday. Right now, there could be a lot of reflection. For some people, a lot of thoughts about the ancestors or beloveds who've gone on to the other side. There could be dreams where they're coming to visit you. There could be a lot of story writing accounts, attraction to writing historical accounts. There's an aspect of seeking meaning so that there's more clarity on how to move forward on, the present into future roads, and a lot more emphasis on getting right within your body, realizing there may be things that it's just wise for you to do, eating more vegetables, taking a little more care with what you put in the body temple, because the South Node is in Virgo. at this time. So this is a theme that's certainly going to come up while, for sure, while the South Node is in Virgo, y'all. Uranus is in 25 degrees of Taurus, still strong in this transit, helping us to get a more balanced, heart aligned and healthy alignment and relationship with nature and with our resources and allocation of resources, and also even how we frame the idea of how we possess resources and why, and what that might be doing for us on a psychological level, deep psyche level, what it might be doing that's benevolent, and how it could also be holding us back. So these are some of the themes that we've definitely been seeing play out in the world. I feel like in what will be happening is a lot more good fortune taking place, probably at this point, with Venus in 24 degrees of Pisces going direct. Some of the barriers that would have stood in your way before are disintegrating and just don't have the strength to block your path in terms of financial wellness and healthy structures. So give of the thanks. Jupiter is in 18 degrees of Gemini. There can be an interest in learning more about the body. There can be even house structures, like where you lived. This can affect those sorts of interests, right? You might want to learn how to renovate a little more. There's transformation energy showing up in the fourth house in this particular chart that was cast. There could just be an interest on the structure of things and how things work within the body, within a home, even historical accounts, even the way that you write reports or form and structure things. It's Jupiter in Gemini, so it can affect the written word. It can affect speech. I do feel more of this is more so going to go to something closer to physical structuring, and I think it would apply a little more to the pen than verbiage. It's an 18, it's a Virgo degree. So there's more of an earthy focus, like collecting information, but I'm not saying it can't affect speech. Mars is in 28 degrees of the sign of the Scarab. This definitely gives a nice trine energy to those planets in Pisces, right? The planets in Pisces right now. Essentially, there's more of a focus on retaining what you have, adding to it the proper way, watering your garden, taking care of things, tending to your relationships, making good, clearing the waters, making good in relationships that could use a little more healing, giving people space if they need it. There's actually a lot of health opportunity. There's a lot of opportunity to move in a more healthful way in your connections, on your financial roads, and even with different things that you might want to achieve. It's going to increasingly grow easier, but there's a strong emphasis on structure and giving time, making sure you prioritize and you're at least giving time that can come together over time in increments. With the South Node being in 26 degrees of Virgo, there can be a requirement taking place of, requiring more time to think without having to announce your thoughts to someone, more personal space in that way. There could be a desire to not have people be too intrusive when you need time to kind of break down in your own mind what you're thinking. And this could go on for a while. This could be like 7 to 12 months of a theme of hello, stop riding my neck. Like, how can I tell you what I'm thinking? You didn't even give me 2 seconds to form a thought, right? So this may be one of the corrective things that are happening with very intrusive people who are like super nosy and too deep in the Kool-Aid. Like, you can't even get the Kool-Aid out the packet and they're trying to know everything about the mix. There's definitely like boundary lines being drawn, and I think they're being drawn quietly right now in this Virgo energy, but they're being drawn, and it's for health reasons, and it's something that must happen. Is an energy that I'm definitely getting. And before we go into anything else, just, in the home life, we have Lilith in 2 degrees of Virgo. I'm sorry, Scorpio. Sorry, y'all. Similar glyph if I'm just glancing. So I'll repeat it. Lilith in 2 degrees of Scorpio and the moon in 10 degrees of Scorpio. So there can be thoughts of long range resources, academia, going back to school, putting some respect on your name. Some of you might be looking towards fashion, even, different ways you can put things together, making curios, making, it could be found art. These sorts of things can form an interest, curious, quirky things that hold meaning from the space and time, that they were created, and that contributes a great deal to their value, that they, over time they've been around for a while, like vintage materials or just something, it was a certain time in the world, and this, kind of unusual thing was created. Remember the part of fortune is in Aquarius and 7 degrees. So this can be a time where you put something together that you might not have put together at another time. And for that reason alone, it holds value. It might not be something that's going to be created often, that sort of thing. So I'm not going to stay on this too long. What I will give as an overall vibe or overall advice for the week, take your time thinking through long range decisions. Try to avoid making decisions under stress. It's better to collect your thoughts, assess how you really feel. I feel like sea salt baths, sitting in water, comforting yourself, taking care of it really, like on a primordial levels of self, just giving yourself time to collect your emotions, to gather your energy back into your actual body. I feel like this is going to be an important thing this week. People might require space, very meaningful, very gentle connections that will give space one to the other. This can be a very good week for drawing closer in that energy. Maybe confiding, that something's hurting in someone else, helping you to not beat yourself up about that, helping you to seek self-care and seek ways that you can better the situation. There's, very tender, very understanding and caring and emotionally supportive connections. Those that are genuinely that can do very well this week. Sometimes you might just want to listen to music. Some of you might want to paint. I feel like after Friday, there may be some releases that come up, release energies. Try to steer clear of overbearing people and give yourself some space. If this is not something that's easily avoided, but you're going to be around very demanding people, then, kind of have your cue cards ready or play it cool. If anyone is coming in with like invasive conversations and they want to be deep in your business, be on alert with that. The better thing in these situations to do is really just kind of, if you can steer clear of them, steer clear. But, have responses ready, in some of these cases, they're all up in your business. So you don't know them like that. I'm not trying to get into that conversation right now. Could be all you really need to say. People could tell on themselves in these energies. It's very subtle, but it's like subtle but obvious. So watch out for people who are a little too intrusive, and call on Archangel Raphael if you feel like someone is just like too deep in your business for protection. Like things, you could be protected. You could be protected. So you can call for protections if you really feel like something funny is going on. Energetically, those of y'all who know what I mean by that know what I mean by that. The divine is always with you, and you can ask for help. I'm probably going to close out here. I hope you found this helpful. Pluto is in 3 degrees of Aquarius, obviously, but this is going to be transforming how you look at yourself right now in the body of a relationship. In your relationships, how you hold your power, how much you let people draw off of you, all of those things. So take care of yourself and safeguard what is precious into your personal space. And you're going to do quite well this week and find very good directions to move in. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in. Stay excellent. And do check Natuma and myself out for the Healing Lights event on the 24th of this month. I believe it's the 24th. You can check Linktree, and that is Healing Lights 1212, the numbers 1212. And you can click on the Ascension Guide there, and different links there will give you the information you need about where to find us. I hope that you found this helpful. If you're looking for private session information, you can visit www.vibegarden.org, or if you have contact information from past readings, you could just reach out to me and send me a text or an email, or on the page of the site, you can click on the envelope icon and send me an email directly. For those of you who are going to be who have any reading requests that would take place in any live rooms, if card pictures are taken, my schedule has become increasingly busy. So I've now changed the format where you can request. I will take pictures of the cards, but then eventually I'm going to delete them. So you can request pictures of the cards by emailing me, or if you have the text number, by texting me. And then that is how I'm going to know, okay, I will send them to you. And this is just so that I have more time to accomplish some of the things that I've been working on. Some people just don't seem to be that interested, right, in the cards, and some people are. So if you are one that is, do remember to send that message if you want to request the cards from the live rooms. I thank you so much for tuning in. Stay excellent, y'all. Peace.